The night was heavy, the house was silent, and the air felt cold like ice. A woman ran fast through the narrow hallway, her bare feet slapping the floor. Her heart was beating so loud she thought it would break out of her chest. She did not stop, she did not look back. She only ran toward the small bathroom at the end of the hall. Behind her, she could hear him. Her husband, the man she once loved more than her own life. But now his footsteps were slow, heavy, and terrifying. Each step echoed against the walls, each sound closer, each sound heavier. He was calling her name. Not in the way he used to. Not with love. His voice was low, rough, almost broken, like something else was speaking through him. She pushed herself into the bathroom and slammed the door shut. The old wooden door shook, the lock clicked, and she pressed her back against it. Her hands trembled as she whispered to herself again and again, "The door won't hold, the door won't hold." The bathroom light flickered, making the shadows dance on the walls. She could see her own reflection in the mirror above the sink. Pale face, wide eyes, lips shaking. She looked like a stranger, like a trapped animal waiting for the cage to break. Outside, his footsteps stopped. For a moment, there was silence. Her breath was sharp and fast, her hands pressed harder on the door. Then a sound came. A scratching sound, long, slow nails dragging across the wood. The sound was worse than the footsteps. It made her whole body shake. He spoke again. "Open the door," her heart sank. The voice was not her husband's anymore. It was deeper, hungry, broken. She shook her head even though he could not see her. She whispered, "You're not him, you're not him." The scratching turned into pounding. The door shook hard. Dust fell from the frame. The thin lock rattled. She bit her lip so hard it almost bled. She could smell something in the air, like iron, like blood mixed with something rotten. She closed her eyes for a moment and thought of the man she had married. He was kind. He was gentle. He used to laugh when she cooked too much food. He used to hold her hand when they walked under the stars. That man was gone. What stood outside was not him anymore. Her body wanted to scream, but her mind forced her to stay silent. She needed to think. She needed time. But time was not her friend. The pounding grew louder. Each hit made the door bend just a little, just enough for her to see the frame cracking. She stepped back from the door. Her eyes searched the bathroom for something, anything to defend herself. A toothbrush, a small towel, a broken mirror shard lying near the sink. Nothing was strong enough to stop him. But maybe, just maybe, she could hurt him enough to escape. The pounding stopped again. She froze. The silence was worse than the noise. She held her breath. Then came his whisper, soft but terrifying, right against the door. "I'm so hungry." Her blood ran cold. Hungry, not for food, not for water. Hungry for something else. Something she could not even speak out loud. The light flickered again. For 1 second, the room was dark. In that black second, she felt his presence stronger than before. As if the door was not even there. As if he was already inside with her. When the light came back, she gasped. Her phone was on the sink. She grabbed it with shaking hands, pressed the button. No signal, no network, nothing. The screen showed only a dead line. Empty, useless. She dropped it. The small sound of plastic hitting the tiles felt like thunder in the silence. He laughed outside. A low, deep, broken laugh. It was not human. Not anymore. Tears filled her eyes. She backed against the wall, holding the mirror shard in her hand. Her fingers were bleeding where the sharp edge cut her skin, but she did not care. She whispered to herself again and again, "Stay strong, stay strong, stay strong." The door shook again, harder this time. The frame bent, the wood cracked. Each hit brought him closer. The lock would not last. The door would not last, she thought. If he comes inside, I will fight. If I die, I will fight. But I will not let him take me without a fight. Her breath slowed for a moment. She looked at the door, at the cracks, at the shadow of his feet moving under the gap. She felt the end coming closer. And then, with a voice that almost sounded like her husband, soft, sweet, but twisted, he said, "Please, open the door. It's me, don't you trust me?" She closed her eyes. She knew it was a lie. She knew the man she loved was gone. Only the hungry thing remained. Her hand shook, holding the shard tighter. The bathroom was small. The door was weak. And the night was only beginning. The night of terror did not begin in the bathroom. It began hours before in the calm light of day. The wife remembered it clearly, every detail standing out in her mind like a warning she had ignored. Her husband had come home from work earlier than usual. He walked through the front door without a word. Normally he would smile, kiss her cheek, and ask how her day was. But that day he only dropped his bag on the floor and stood in the hallway. His skin looked pale, almost gray. His lips were dry and cracked. His eyes, usually bright and full of warmth, were dull and strange, like he had not slept for a week. She asked him if he was all right. He only looked at her for a long time, then slowly walked past without answering. She thought maybe he was tired. Work had been hard lately, but something in his face made her uneasy. He looked empty, as if the man she loved was standing there but his soul was missing. At dinner, she cooked his favorite meal, rice and roasted chicken with spices. The smell filled the house. Normally he would eat with joy, teasing her that she had cooked too much again. But this time he just sat at the table staring at the plate. He didn't lift his fork. He didn't even blink much. She asked, "Aren't you hungry?" He looked at her then, slowly. His eyes were dark, deep, searching. He smiled, but the smile was wrong. It was thin, forced, stretched too wide. "Not for this," he whispered. Her body turned cold. She did not know what he meant. She pushed the thought away and tried to eat, but every bite tasted like ash in her mouth under his gaze. She pretended not to notice, but inside, fear was building, soft but steady, like a storm growing on the horizon. That night, when they went to bed, she lay beside him, listening to his breathing, but it was not steady like before. It was uneven, heavy, sometimes almost like a growl. At one point she felt him move. She opened her eyes and found him sitting up in the dark, staring at nothing. "What's wrong?" she whispered. He turned his head slowly toward her. His eyes caught a small glint of moonlight. They did not look like his eyes anymore. She froze, waiting for an answer, but he only tilted his head, like he was listening to a sound she could not hear. Hours passed. She must have drifted to sleep, but she woke suddenly to a noise, a sniffing sound, like an animal searching for prey. She saw him crawling on the floor beside the bed, his nose close to the carpet, moving from one corner of the room to the other. Her heart raced. She whispered his name and he stopped. For a moment she thought he would answer, but instead he stood up too quickly, faster than a human should. His body twitched, his shoulders hunched, and he turned his face toward her with a grin that was not his own. She pulled the blanket up to her chin, trembling. He climbed back into bed but did not lie down. He sat there, staring at her in silence until his breathing grew heavy again. Slowly his head dropped forward and he seemed to fall asleep. She lay awake until morning. She did not sleep at all. When sunlight filled the room, she finally gathered the courage to look at him closely. He was still, too still, his skin looking worse than before. Strange marks covered his arms, dark lines almost like burns. She touched one gently. His skin was ice cold. He flinched at her touch even in sleep and growled low in his throat. She pulled her hand away. Fear grew stronger. Something was wrong with him. This was not sickness. This was not exhaustion. This was something else, something unnatural. Her memory flashed back to the news on the radio last week. Reports of strange sickness spreading in nearby towns. People behaving oddly, attacking their families, speaking in broken voices. The radio host had called it a mystery disease, but some whispered darker words. Human turning into something else. She had laughed it off then, thinking it was only rumor. But now, with her husband lying cold beside her, she did not laugh. By evening, she decided she could not ignore it anymore. She asked him directly, "Do you need a doctor?" He turned his head toward her. His eyes looked darker than ever, almost black. He smiled again, that same wrong smile. "No doctor can help me." Her breath caught. She tried to ask another question, but before she could speak, he suddenly grabbed her hand. His grip was like iron, crushing her bones. She gasped in pain, tried to pull away, but he held her tight. Then, as quickly as it began, he let go. He whispered, "You should stay close. You smell good." That was the moment she knew. Her husband was gone. The man before her was something else, something hungry. She wanted to run then, to escape while she could. But fear chained her to the spot. She told herself maybe she was wrong, maybe he was sick, maybe he would recover. But deep inside she knew the truth. Night came again. The house grew dark, and when she heard his footsteps creeping behind her, faster, heavier, filled with hunger, she knew the nightmare had only just begun. The house was not safe anymore. The wife had known it the moment her husband's strange words left his lips. She could no longer tell if he was still human or not. All she knew was that something inside him wanted her, not with love, not with care, but with hunger. The evening had fallen heavy, covering the house in shadows. She stood in the kitchen, holding her phone in her trembling hands. No signal, no way to call for help. The clock on the wall ticked slow, each second like a hammer in her ears. Then she heard it. Movement upstairs. At first light steps, but then quicker, heavier, almost running. She froze. Her breath stopped. Her mind whispered, "Run." She placed the phone on the counter and stepped backward. A loud crash echoed from above. A chair, or maybe a table, thrown against the wall. Then his voice, broken and hungry. "Where are you?" Her body reacted before her mind. She ran. Her feet pounded against the wooden floor as she rushed down the hallway. She did not look back, but she could hear him. The footsteps were fast, too fast, hitting the ground with weight and force. "Come back," he growled, his voice shaking the walls. Her heart almost gave out when she heard the sound of wood splintering upstairs. He was tearing through furniture, through doors, searching for her. Then his footsteps pounded the staircase, shaking the house like thunder. He was coming down. She ran to the living room. The lights flickered again. The shadows seemed alive, stretching and crawling across the walls. Her hands searched for something, anything. A weapon, a phone line, a door. But everything felt too far, too useless. The footsteps grew closer, louder, stronger. She could almost feel the floor vibrate. He was not walking like a man. He was moving like a predator, quick and powerful, each step echoing with unnatural speed. She darted toward the small hallway that led to the back of the house. Behind her, she heard him growl, a sound deeper than any voice she had ever heard. It rattled her bones. She reached the end of the hall, her chest burning, her breath tearing from her throat. Her hands grabbed the doorknob of the storage room. Locked. She turned to the other door. The bathroom. Small, narrow, but it had a lock. She pushed herself inside and slammed the door shut. Her body collapsed against it. She turned the lock with shaking fingers. The sound clicked. She pressed her weight against the thin wood, her heart racing so fast she thought it might explode. Then came the silence. At first, no footsteps, no growl, only her breath sharp and uneven and the buzzing light above her head. For a second, she thought maybe he had lost her, maybe he was still upstairs, but then a shadow moved under the door. Her eyes widened. The shadow was still, waiting, listening. Then a voice. His voice. But it was broken, deep, not human anymore. "Why are you hiding?" She covered her mouth with her hand, trying not to make a sound. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Her body shook like a leaf in a storm. The doorknob rattled, slow at first, then harder. Then a sudden bang. The door jumped under the hit. She gasped and pressed her weight harder against it. Bang, bang, bang. Each hit stronger, louder, shaking the whole room. The lock rattled. Cracks spread across the old wooden frame. She could see small lines appearing, growing wider with every strike. She searched the bathroom with her eyes, desperate. Toothbrush, towel, soap. Nothing strong, nothing useful. Then she saw the shard of broken mirror near the sink. She grabbed it, her hand cutting against the sharp edge, but she did not care. The pounding outside grew wild, furious. He was not calling her name anymore. He was growling, snarling like an animal in pain and hunger. The sound of his fists against the door echoed through the whole house. She whispered to herself over and over, "The door won't hold." The door won't hold, and she was right. The wood bent forward under his strength. Pieces of paint chipped away, falling to the floor. The lock screamed with pressure. Any moment it would break. Her mind flashed with memories, his smile, his laugh, his gentle touch. The man she loved was gone. Outside that door was not her husband. It was something else. Something hungry. She raised the shard, her hand trembling but firm. She told herself, "If the door breaks, I will fight. If he comes in, I will not give up." Another bang. The door split a little near the hinges. She screamed without meaning to. The sound echoed in the bathroom, mixing with the growl outside. Then silence again. The sudden stop was worse than the pounding. She listened. Her ears rang in the quiet. She pressed her face close to the door, trying to hear. And then, in a soft, broken whisper, he spoke through the crack. "I can smell you." Her body froze. Her blood turned cold. The doorknob twisted again, slow this time, almost gentle. She pressed her back harder, her hands gripping the shard so tightly her knuckles turned white. The bathroom light flickered once more. Shadows stretched across the floor. Her own reflection in the mirror looked back at her. pale, wide-eyed, shaking. She knew this was only the beginning. The chase was not over. The door was not strong, and he was not going to stop. The bathroom was shaking with every blow. The wife pressed her back against the door, her body trembling with fear. But as she sat there in the dim light, her mind betrayed her. Memories began to rise, soft and painful, weaving themselves into the terror of the present. She remembered the man she had married. He was not a monster. He was kind, gentle, a man who once stayed awake all night just to hold her when she was sick. A man who brought her flowers for no reason, smiling shyly as if he didn't need a reason at all. That man had been her whole world. Her eyes filled with tears as she pressed her hand against the door, as if she could touch him through the wood, as if she could bring him back. But all she felt was the vibration of his fists pounding against it, each strike louder, stronger, less human. Another memory came, clear, sharp, cruel in its sweetness. Their wedding day. The way he had looked at her when she walked down the aisle, his eyes full of light, his hands shaking as he held hers. She remembered the vows, the promise to protect, to love, to cherish, and now, only years later, she was trapped in a bathroom hiding from the same man, listening to his growls and his hungry whispers. Her chest ached. She wanted to believe there was still some piece of him inside, some spark of the man who had once loved her. But when she remembered the way he had smiled at dinner, thin and twisted, when she remembered the way he had sniffed the carpet like an animal, she knew the truth. The man she loved was gone. The pounding stopped again. Silence spread, heavy and cruel. She could hear her own breath, uneven and fast. For a moment she dared to hope. Maybe he was gone, maybe he had walked away. But then came the sound that destroyed her hope. A whisper, right at the crack of the door. "I can taste your fear." Her body went stiff. She covered her mouth with her hands, trying not to scream. Her mind screamed anyway. Not human, not him, not anymore. Her eyes moved around the small bathroom, searching for comfort. But there was none. The flickering light made shadows crawl across the tiles. The mirror reflected her pale face, her wide, terrified eyes. She looked like a stranger. She pressed the shard of glass tighter in her hand. Blood dripped from her palm where the edge cut her, but she barely felt it. Pain was nothing compared to the terror in her chest. She thought of the news again. Stories of sickness, of people changing, of hunger that could not be fed. She had laughed then, but now she was living it. Maybe her husband was only the beginning. Maybe the sickness would spread to the whole town. Maybe the whole world would soon fall into this nightmare. Her head dropped forward. Her tears fell onto the floor. She wanted to scream, to beg, to run, but there was nowhere to go. The door was the only thing between her and the hunger outside. And then she heard it again, the sound of sniffing. Long, slow, steady. He was breathing her in through the thin cracks. The door bent under his weight as he leaned close. "Do you remember our first kiss?" he whispered, his voice broken but mocking. Her heart shattered. He remembered. Or maybe it was not him remembering, but something inside him using her memories to hurt her. She screamed back, her voice breaking. "You're not him! You're not my husband!" The laugh that followed was not his. It was low, deep, twisted. A sound that made her ears ring and her stomach turn. The pounding started again, harder this time. The door bent inward. Splinters fell to the floor. The lock rattled. She knew it could not last much longer. Her hands shook as she raised the shard in front of her. She whispered to herself, "Stay strong. Stay strong. You have to fight." Her eyes closed and one last memory came to her. Walking under the stars, his hand in hers, his voice soft as he promised her forever. She clung to that memory like a rope, pulling strength from it even as fear consumed her. The bathroom light flickered again, plunging the room into shadow for a second. When it came back, she saw the crack in the door growing wider. A hand, his hand, pushed through, pale and shaking, fingers stretched like claws. She screamed. The hand clawed at the air, trying to reach her. She backed against the wall, her shard raised high, her breath ragged. "Don't run from me," he growled. "You are mine." The door bent again. The frame groaned. She knew the end was near. Memories filled her mind, love and terror mixing like fire and ice. The man she had loved was gone, but the fear of losing him forever was still burning inside her. And as the door cracked louder, as his hungry growls filled the small bathroom, she realized something worse than fear. She wasn't just hiding from her husband. She was hiding from the thing that had stolen him. The bathroom door groaned like an old tree in a storm. Every strike from the other side sent vibrations through the wood, through the frame, through her body. The wife pressed harder against it, but she knew the truth. The door was losing the fight. Cracks spread across the surface like veins. Small chips of wood scattered on the tiles. The lock rattled each time he slammed his weight against it. She could almost feel his breath seeping through the cracks, hot and sour, filling the tiny room with dread. Her hands shook as she looked down at the shard of mirror. It glittered weakly in the flickering light, sharp but small, too small. Could this piece of broken glass really stop what was outside? Could it stop him? Another blow made the hinges scream. The door bent forward only for a second, but enough for her to see the dark outline of his face pushing against it. His voice followed, low and broken. "Open the door. I won't hurt you." The lie crawled into her ears like poison. She squeezed her eyes shut, whispering to herself, "Don't believe it. Don't believe it." Her heart screamed at her to run, but there was nowhere to go. The bathroom had no window, no second exit. Only this fragile door between her and the nightmare. She looked around, desperately. Toothbrush, towel, soap, nothing. She searched under the sink, an empty bottle of cleaner, worthless. She opened the small cabinet. Bandages, toothpaste, nothing useful. Her breath grew faster. Her chest felt like it was closing. Another bang. The wood split near the top, just a small crack, but enough for her to see his eye. She gasped. The eye was not his anymore. It was black, endless, like a pit that swallowed all light. It blinked once, slow, deliberate, staring at her with hunger. She stumbled backward, clutching the shard tighter. Her hand bled, red drops marking the tiles, but she didn't care. The pain kept her awake, kept her focused. The banging stopped. Silence filled the room, heavy and cruel. She dared not breathe. She stared at the crack, waiting, listening. For a moment nothing happened. Then slowly his voice came, soft and mocking. "Do you remember when you said forever? Forever means you can't leave me." Her body shook. Tears ran down her cheeks. He was using her memories against her, twisting love into a weapon. She pressed her hands over her ears, but the words still burned inside her head. Bang. The door bent again. Splinters flew into the air. Bang, the lock rattled so violently it almost broke. Bang. A hinge cracked. The top of the door sagged forward. She screamed. The sound echoed in the small room. She couldn't hold the door anymore. It was going to fall. She dropped to her knees and pushed her weight against it with her shoulder. Her arms shook. Her muscles burned, but she held on, whispering, "Please, please, please." The pounding grew faster, like drums of war. The sound of fists, of claws, of rage. The bathroom light flickered harder, almost going out completely. Shadows danced around her, twisting into shapes she didn't want to see. The crack widened. Fingers pushed through, long, pale, bent like claws. They scratched at the air, reaching for her. She slashed at them with the shard. A scream erupted from the other side. A sound that was not human, a sound that made her ears ring. The fingers pulled back, leaving streaks of blood on the door. Her chest rose and fell rapidly. She had hurt him. But the scream did not sound like pain, it sounded like excitement. Then came the laugh. Deep, broken, echoing through the wood. "You're mine," he growled. "You can't fight forever." The hinges groaned louder. She knew the door would not last much longer. Minutes, maybe seconds, and it would be gone. Her mind raced. She thought of running past him once the door fell. She thought of stabbing him with the shard, of escaping through the front door, of finding help. But every plan ended the same, with his shadow catching her, with his hands pulling her down. She pressed her forehead to the cold tiles, whispering to herself, "Stay strong. Don't give up. You have to survive." The pounding slowed for a moment. Silence again. Then the sound of breathing. Loud, heavy, animal-like, pressed against the cracks. "I'm so close," he whispered. "I can smell you. I can taste you." Her body shivered violently. She raised the shard higher, her hand shaking but firm. The door bent again. The frame snapped. The lock twisted sideways. It was ending. She thought of the man he once was. The man who had danced with her in the rain, who had whispered dreams into her ear at night. She thought of his warm smile, his gentle hands. She thought of love. And then she remembered the eye in the crack, black and endless. That man was gone. What waited outside was not her husband. It was hunger. It was darkness. The bathroom shook as the final blow struck. The lock tore free. The door swung inward with a scream of wood and metal. The bathroom door hung open, broken and weak, pieces of wood scattered across the tiles. The wife backed into the corner, her shard of glass raised high. Her chest heaved with fast breaths, her eyes wide and full of terror. He stepped into the room. Slowly. His tall figure filled the doorway, his shoulders brushing the frame. His skin looked gray and stretched, veins black and bulging under the surface, his lips pulled into a grin that showed teeth too sharp, too long. His eyes, once warm, once human, were now dark pits, shining with hunger. He tilted his head as he stared at her. For a moment he said nothing. Only the sound of his breathing filled the room, deep and uneven, like an animal ready to strike. She held the shard tighter. Her hand bled from the cuts, but she did not lower it. She whispered, "Stay back." He laughed, low and broken, a sound that made the walls vibrate. "Back?" he growled. "Why would I go back? You're mine. You've always been mine." She shook her head, tears spilling from her eyes. "You're not him. You're not my husband anymore." The smile on his face widened, unnatural, stretched too far. "Not him? Oh, I am him. I am more than him now. Stronger, hungrier, better." Her stomach turned at the words. This was not just sickness. This was not just madness. This was something worse. Something that had taken her husband and twisted him into a monster. He stepped closer. His movements were jerky, too quick, as if his body didn't belong to him anymore. Each step scraped against the tiles, making her flinch. She raised the shard higher. "Don't come closer. I'll fight you." His head tilted again, unnatural, almost sideways. "Fight? Yes, fight me. I like it when they fight." Her heart froze. They. The word echoed in her mind. Did that mean there were more? More like him? She remembered the news again. Reports of strange sickness, people attacking their families, whole streets blocked by the police. She had thought it was far away, only stories. But now she realized it was real. It was here. And her husband was one of them. Her chest grew heavy with a new fear. This was not just about her survival. This was about the world. If he was infected, others would be too. If this sickness spread, humanity itself was in danger. He took another step, his hands twitching like claws. His nails were long, dark, sharp. They scraped the wall as he moved, leaving deep marks in the paint. "Come to me," he whispered. "You don't need to run. You don't need to hide. Just give in." "It will be easier," she screamed. "No!" And slashed the shard through the air. He pulled back, laughing again, the sound echoing in the small bathroom. "You're strong," he said, "stronger than the others. That's why I chose you." Her breath caught. The others. The word stabbed into her mind like a knife. How many others had there been? How many had he hunted? Her body shook. The bathroom felt smaller, tighter, closing in on her. The wall seemed to press inward as his dark presence filled the space. She could feel heat rolling off him like fire mixed with rot. The smell was thick, heavy, choking. For a moment she thought she saw something move under his skin. His veins pulsed, dark liquid twisting inside like it was alive. His body wasn't just sick, it was changing, becoming something else. She whispered to herself, "Not human. Not human anymore." He heard her. His grin widened. Yes, not human. More than human. Her stomach turned. Her fear grew heavier, sharper until it cut into her chest. But at the same time, anger rose. Anger at the thing that had stolen her husband. Anger at the sickness that had destroyed her life. She held the shard steady, her hand shaking but firm. "You'll never have me. I'll never let you win." His eyes glowed darker, sharper, like burning coals. He growled, low and hungry. "You don't have a choice. The hunger always wins." The room shook with his words. The mirror cracked from the vibration. Her reflection split into broken pieces, showing her pale face in fragments. And in that moment she realized the truth. This wasn't just about survival. This was about war. A war between what was left of humanity and whatever this sickness was turning people into. Her husband had been the man she loved. Now he was the proof that the sickness was real, that it was spreading, that the world was changing. And if she didn't fight, if she didn't survive, she would become another victim. Another memory twisted into hunger. She raised the shard higher, her voice shaking but strong. "If you want me, you'll have to kill me." He roared then, louder than ever before, shaking the whole house. His body lunged forward fast, unstoppable, and the battle truly began. The broken bathroom door dangled from its hinges, creaking with every movement. The wife stood in the corner, her back pressed against the cold tiles, her hand gripping the shard of glass so tight her knuckles turned white. Blood dripped slowly from her palm, each drop making a soft sound on the floor. He stepped closer, his figure tall and twisted, blocking the only way out. His breath came in deep, hungry waves. His eyes burned with dark fire. Every part of him looked human and not human at the same time, like her husband's body had been stolen by something ancient and cruel. She raised the shard, her voice trembling but loud. "Stay back." He tilted his head, smiling with teeth that were no longer his own. "Why fight me? You belong with me. You always have. You always will." Her heart pounded in her chest. She thought of running past him, but his body filled the doorway like a wall. She thought of hiding, but there was no place left. All that remained was fight or die. He lunged forward suddenly, faster than she thought possible. She screamed and swung the shard. The glass cut across his arm, deep and sharp. Black blood sprayed against the tiles. For a second he staggered back, roaring with rage. The sound was not human. It was deep, broken, and filled with hunger. The walls seemed to shake, the light above flickering harder until sparks danced in the air. She took her chance. She ran. Her bare feet slapped the hallway floor as she sprinted out of the bathroom. Her chest burned, her breath tore from her throat, but she didn't stop. Behind her, his roar filled the house. His footsteps thundered after her, fast, heavy, unrelenting. She turned into the living room. The shadows stretched across the walls. The furniture looked like black shapes ready to trap her. She stumbled toward the front door, her only hope. Her hand grabbed the knob, twisting, pulling. It wouldn't open. Locked. She screamed, slamming her fists against it. She pulled harder, twisting the knob until her skin burned. It didn't move. It was sealed, as if the house itself wanted her trapped. Behind her, his voice came again, closer, mocking. "You can't leave me. You promised forever." Her body froze for half a second, then she spun around, shard still in her hand. He stood at the end of the hall, his body bent, his grin wide, blood dripping from his arm. The black liquid hissed as it touched the floor, eating into the wood like acid. Her stomach turned. His blood was not blood anymore. He took a slow step forward. Then another. His dark eyes locked on her, never blinking. She raised the shard again, her whole body shaking. "Stay away." He laughed. The sound rattled the windows, shook the walls. "You can't stop me." The hunger always wins, her mind raced. She looked at the shard, then at him. She knew it was not enough. She could cut him, hurt him, but not stop him. He was too strong. Too far gone. Her only hope was to survive long enough to escape. Long enough to warn others. Long enough to fight another day. He lunged again, faster this time. She screamed, ducked, and stabbed the shard upward. It cut across his chest, leaving a deep wound. Black blood sprayed again, burning the air with its smell. He roared, his voice shaking the whole house. His arm swung wide, knocking her across the room. She slammed into the wall, her body crumbling to the floor. Pain shot through her chest, but she forced herself to stand. He came closer, crawling now, his grin wider than ever, his teeth sharp and dripping. She stumbled backward, clutching the shard with both hands. Her vision blurred, her breath came in broken gasps. Her mind screamed, "Not like this. Don't give up." "Not yet," he whispered, low and hungry. "Just one bite. That's all I need," she screamed back, raising the shard high. "You'll never have me." At that moment, the front door shook. Not from him. From outside. Voices. Distant, but real. Shouting. Lights flashing through the cracks of the curtains. The sound of heavy boots on the porch. Her eyes widened. Help. Someone had come. He froze for a second, his dark eyes flicking toward the door. His grin faded, replaced by a snarl. He hissed, low and furious, "They won't take you from me." He lunged one final time, faster, harder, unstoppable. She raised the shard with all her strength, ready to strike, ready to fight until the end. The door burst open. A blinding light flooded the room. Shadows stretched and twisted. Figures stormed inside, shouting, their voices sharp and commanding. Her scream, his roar, and the sound of breaking wood all clashed together in that single moment. And then, black. The story ended in silence, leaving only one question burning in the dark. Can love survive when humanity is gone?